Reddit tree presents paranormal activities. First event. I saw a shapeshifter. I am hoping that by posting here I may connect with someone who has also experienced something similar or have heard of others who have experienced similar. Here is my story. This experience happened at approximately 1:20 a.m.-ish Thanksgiving morning 2018. I live in SW Washington State and had rented a vacation home in Lincoln City, Oregon to accommodate mine and my sister's family who was flying in from Hawaii for the Thanksgiving holiday. We had all arrived at the rental around 3 p.m. About 7:30 p.m. my son started yelling for me. He said my 1-year-old grandson had gotten into my case with my blood pressure meds, and sure enough one of my pills was missing. We panicked and called poison control, who told us to call 911 ASAP. They sent an ambulance and took my grandson to a small hospital in the area. The staff there did what they could but told us they were not equipped for the situation and my grandson needed to be transported to Randall's Children's Hospital in Portland, Oregon. So, on Thanksgiving Eve a pediatric ambulance was sent from Randall's to Lincoln City, about a 2.5 to 3 hour drive due to holiday traffic. It arrived around midnight to pick up my grandson. My son's wife rode in ambulance with my grandson back to Randall's. Me and my son went back to the beach house to get diapers and clothes and started the drive to Randall's at about 12:30 a.m. Okay, so here is where we encountered something that I and my son will never forget for as long as we live. We had been on the road for about an hour and had just passed the Spirit Mountain Casino on Highway 18 and were in the area that was all hay farmland in between Bellevue and McMinnville. The road has 2 lanes only and is definitely a long deserted road, especially at that hour of night. The ride had been very emotional as I felt extremely guilty for having packed my meds in a side pocket of tote bag where my grandson was able to access it. I was terrified for him and crying. My son was also upset, and although he was trying to hide it I knew he blamed me, pensive face. Anyway, here is the crazy part. As we were driving, I noticed my son slightly drifting in the road. He was falling asleep. Twice I asked him if he was okay to drive and to be careful. So being that I was very concerned that he may fall asleep, I was very aware and up watching him and the road, making sure he would not fall asleep. As we were driving down this road going about 55 mph. In the distance we both saw what at first we thought was a deer running in our lane of the road coming straight at us, but within a couple seconds we realized it was not a deer but a golden colored horse. It must have been about 250 to 300 feet away at that point. It got closer fast as, like I said, we were traveling at about 55 miles per hour. As it got about 150 feet away, it leaped upwards and morphed instantly into a giant owl right before our eyes. The wingspan stretched past our lane in the road. Me and my son estimate to be between 12 to 15 foot wingspan. This thing was enormous. As soon as we saw that, my son yelled out "WTF?" and swerved the car to the left to avoid it, and just as he did this, the owl immediately landed about 50 feet ahead of us to our right, in that little area outside the white line like the bike path area. The owl kinda tucked its head and wings into its chest as if it were scared or trying to hide. As we drove past it, I got a good look at it out my window, and with its head and wings tucked in, it still came up to about the bottom of the window of the Subaru. It seemed a little wider than the width of a beach ball. So about 3.5 feet tall and 20 to 24 inches all the way around the body. This thing was mind-blowingly big. Now as soon as this happened it was almost as if a trance came over us. It affected both of us in the same ways. 1, we both did not speak a word the entire rest of the drive at all until we got to hospital. 2, we both lost all feelings of being tired and it felt like a calm alertness and awareness took over. I never even felt the fear he would fall asleep after the encounter. 3, the memory of the experience was crystal clear, but the curiosity and wonder or even awe did not hit us until driving back through the same area the next afternoon after my grandson was discharged. It's like we suddenly both said, "And what the heck was that thing we saw last night?" and it all started pouring out from both of us, the exact same thing that we saw. My son's wife was asking us questions about it and we were blurting out the exact same answers. It was mind-blowing. Till this day we talk about it and wonder what did we witness that night. We both agree that this seemed to be some mythical creature or shapeshifter. We both also agree that whatever it was good and meant us no harm and may have been a guardian. Or maybe it was something that we witnessed by accident and maybe weren't meant to see. Either way, just the fact that we both saw it. I feel extremely lucky and blessed to have seen proof with my own eyes that animal spirits or shapeshifters or magical creatures do exist. Makes me wonder about stories of fairies and mermaids and Pegasus and Nessie may just be true. Second event. Is this a haunting? So a little over a year ago I moved into a retirement apartment on the grounds of a former religious community, one that had been there for over 100 years. To cut to the chase, I began to slowly change from someone with extensive interests, such as photography, art, and crafts, into someone so drained that I could barely get enough energy to cook dinner. I became someone who was apathetic and lethargic, and, I guess, somewhat exhausted and depressed. I put it down to health age, not sure what really, but very different than I was. But, today, I happened to talk with another lady in the building. She experienced the exact same thing, and used almost the exact same words to describe it. She said, "I don't know what is wrong with me, I'm so different than I was," etc. We agreed that the atmosphere in the building was heavy. There have been multiple deaths in the complex ranging over decades. Third event. Paranormal experience. If you want to believe me or not, is not my target, I'm not looking for that. At the end of my tale you will find that I am not sure of what happened that night. I just feel curious to know if you ever had a similar situation, or just leave here your opinion. When I was a child, I traveled with my friend and his family to a place at more than 500 miles from my home, that lies between hills and forests. Touring the province, one of those days, we followed a path marked with painted stones, for several miles in. At the end of the trail, we had found that a poor family was living there. They obviously didn't had electricity, only a hut, and a sinister thing that I can remember, a pile of cow skulls. Whatever, we asked them if we could spend the night there. So we camped on the foot of the mountain and near of a little lake. We made fire for cooking and staying warm until we went to sleep. Just before went to bed, my friend and I stayed near the fire, looking at the sky and watching, from what I remember, shooting stars. Maybe coincidence, but something certain is that further you are from city, better you can see the sky. Here comes the best part. My friend's parents and his young brother was sleeping in the back of the van in which we traveled. Separated from them, we entered in the tent, and tried to sleep. Time later, I can't tell if I fell asleep, but I heard a noise, like an engine, like a copter. So, I opened the zip of the window tent. Time later, I can't tell if I fell asleep. So, I opened the zip of the window tent. My friend was awake, watching and hearing the noise and the light coming through there. It was an intense white light. I can't tell why my first impulse was to out of the tent. I just can remember myself opening the zip and leaving the tent, and the strong light. Next, I awake from that nightmare, wake up my friend telling that creepy dream. He told me, "I dreamed the same as you, my last remember is myself taking up your ankle asking you don't leave the tent." My friend's family didn't listen to anything, and this story was forgotten until 1 year ago, when I asked him if it really happened or he just was playing me a joke, but I heard that I didn't want to hear, that what afraid of, we remind the same story long time after.